All right. Good evening, guys. Mic check, screen share check, or mic check anyway. All good? Okay. Hey, this is the Creativity 202 check in for August 1st, 2023. Good to be back in the saddle. And I'll just do a quick check in with the boys, see how we're doing. And just let me know what lesson you're on that you'll be.
No,
I like your picture, Luke. Do you live near Sydney, or are you far away from Sydney?
hour and a half away. That's not really far.
Oh, okay, so about 100 kilometers, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay.
Damien, where'd you get your image?
I made my own image. I got one of the software Mid Journey, I think it's called, that was recommended by Ken, and so I made it. Uh, it's kind of difficult to figure out how to use it.
Mic check.
But
Oh,
Yeah,
now,
that's better.
uh,
I
all
like it.
this because of Windows 11. So
Let's
don't get Windows
let's
11.
try this one again. Mic check. We okay now?
Yep, all
Okay.
good.
All right. So this is Creativity 202 check in for August 1st, 2023. And we'll just do a quick once around the horn. Just let me know what lesson you're on. So get a, for because we have some divergence now in the cohort. Luke, how are you doing?
Yeah, going good. I'm on lesson 23 and yeah, just came back into it this week. Had a couple of days off last week and it's good to have you back. Other than that, all good.
Yep. And Damien, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Um, I will be honest, I'm way behind on Creativity 202. From what I can see, I'm on lesson 14. Um, but otherwise, all is good.
Well, you're on this one. You're never really behind because you are exactly where you are. That's
That's true.
part of the secret of the course. You can't hurrying doesn't actually help. Okay, good to hear. And Art, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Good to be back. Missed a few sessions and yeah, work's better. My health's better. And yeah, I am on lesson 13.
Okay.
So Damien, don't feel bad.
No, I don't feel bad at all.
Yeah. And Jeffrey, how we doing?
Yeah, yeah, doing good. Another day at work here, and the sun's shining. So I'm also on lesson 23, but everything's great here.
Okay, the blender. Okay, good. Hey, yeah, just let me start. I tomorrow I have my consultation with KU Med. They got world class cardiac team there. Some of our best friends, our neighbors, are anesthesiologist, and she just has great things to say about the team that I'm working with. So all systems go there. Just got one bad valve to replace. Heart function is strong, no damage from the heart attack, which was mild. Although at the time it didn't feel that mild. But I felt better. But all things considered, I'll take what we got. This was sort of a warning
Mhm.
warning signal. Um, don't wait for your wake up call. And definitely don't hit the snooze alarm if you get one. That's what I would say. That's my advice. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the tones and get you guys launched. So let me find the magic ringer here. And we're off. Mr. Crockford.
Good, so I'll share my screen if that's okay. There it is. Right, so with this lesson, I really struggle with the military lessons, and I don't have a really good understanding of history. So when there's all the lessons about war, I don't even know what they are, to be honest. So I'm really behind on all of that knowledge on that. So I really just get to the trader lessons. I took a snapshot from one of the trading exercises where it basically said, if you took out some of the big winners, where would your system be in terms of win to loss rate, SQN, and looking at it from not being so dependent on the big R's. So in terms of that, what I was looking at there was if I was looking at my system that I trade on the DAX, where it's just the breakout system after the first 20 minutes. And with that, in analysing that system, it's not actually trying to get every move. I'm actually sitting on my hands a lot more. And my RLCO brain doesn't like some of the entries. It's either too late, I think it's too late, or it's too soon, or the move's already happened, and why am I getting in this trade? And a case in point is I missed one yesterday, and I'll show you that on the next slide. It was an error. I should have entered. I was about to enter, and the trade ran away, but I could have got back in when it retraced back to the entry. And the reason why I'm having difficulties with executing this is because it's the knowledge that I have in RLCO prevents me from actually putting some of these trades on, even those I should just be following the rules. With this system, I'm not dependent on any big R multiples. I think there's 1 2R trade, and there's no trades over 2. There's only 1 2R trade. All the rest are maybe 1, 1.2, 1.3. There's not much there. There's no scratches. Losses are tight, 89% of the time, depending on the range of the 5-minute candle. The win rate is not as high as the system that was shown, but I'm happy with the 50% win rate with a 2-to-1 coin flip on a per trade basis with an average of 0.26 per trade. And in terms of this and what has been highlighted in the system in the lesson is that execution is the key, and I really should just get in when I should. And with this system, consistency of application of the system parameters over intensity is the key to following through on the system. So now I'm thinking that I've achieved consistency with 165 trades over 85 sessions. And now it's really time to look at position sizing methods to exploit the benefits of the system to achieve my trading objectives. So with this system, it's just a breakout system. It's nothing fancy. It's just doing it at a take profit target. The execution risk is what it's just a one-to-one system, really. And a couple of rules: if you lose the first 1 or 2 trades, I'll enter up to 4 times during the day. In terms of money, in reviewing that, I look at our histogram based on the coin flip and the average, position sizing methods using markets money, and looking at a review of the overall drawdown in cumulative R, how much it actually takes me to recover that. And I can show you that in the next slide. And the psychology of this system, I basically just need to review this comment that I make to myself every day. The system has earned its place on the production system. I should trade it as it should. The execution should be the easiest part, and then I'll assess it later. I need to sit on my hands and don't override any bias that I might have. And the market doesn't care what I feel. I just need to trade the system rules. So this is the trade from yesterday. So the 4th 5-minute candle was here, and it broke down short. I should have entered. It came down to about here, and I thought, oh, it's going to come back and it's going to go high. And I just had this feeling that it broke down too much. But I had so many opportunities to get back in, to get short at this level, to have a take profit at this level. So this is where my bias overrode what I should have done based on the system rules. And even looking at a higher time frame on a 2-hour chart, it actually had broke the PSAR and it was trending shorter anyway. So that's an error that I made yesterday. In terms of looking at the per trade results, 165 trades, 50% win rate, 49% loss, 1.93 coin flip with an SQN of 3.9, but an SQN at 3.1. And this is what I was talking about with a drawdown. So here's a drawdown here. How long does it take me to get back up to where it was? Not that long. And it's not actually deviating that much from the average. So in terms of that, the average is quite sustained over a longer period of time. This graph here is the last 30 trades average since trade 58 happened. So what happened here is this red line is the average, and when we're above the average, we're close to 1 standard deviation above the average now. So we just need to continue the course, as it were. And a couple of other charts I've been able to create in our histogram is looking at the average expectancy of the last 100 trades, last 50 trades, and last 30 trades. So obviously the last 30 trades is going to be more, change a lot more quickly than the 50 and the 100. So the 30 is trending back quite high to what it was around the start of, around trade 44. So in terms of this, it's all looking good in terms of the average, and the coin flip looking quite well because it's at 2.68, looking at the last 30 trades. So that's based on a per trade basis. So what I also do now is, and I've got to be honest, I don't like this system. I don't like trading it. And it's not that I don't believe in it, because my belief comes from the numbers. So after doing it and putting in the data and trading live, I've got to get over the belief that the system's not going to work, because the math says otherwise. So it really has had to prove itself to me that it actually does work. The reason why I want to keep trading it is it's really simple, and it allows me to take a piece of the market when it actually is working in my favor. And it means I don't have to sit in front of the screen for the whole day, and it's a really good time frame. It starts at 5 p.m. my time, and it normally stops around 7 to 8 o'clock. So 3 hours, and the first half an hour is pretty intense because that's where the volume is. But what I need to do is look at it more on a daily basis, look at the daily performance. And what this basically says is 86% of days I'm actually winning. And the average that I'm making per day, including the lost days, obviously, is 0.5. So if I can make 0.5 a day with minimal effort, and the rules are quite easy to follow, then the cognitive load to actually perform this system is actually really low. And if you can employ position sizing methods to actually achieve the objectives from what I want in trading, then this is a system that is totally separate to RLCO and any price action systems that we're looking at the moment as well. It's just trying to get a piece of the market as it's starting today. So in terms of this, yeah, all looks fantastic, but I also need to make sure that my psychology is on in terms of analysing the daily chart and getting back to the lesson of blending. It's basically blending it in between just trading it on a per trade basis and blending that to a daily histogram chart and taking the lessons from the per trade basis, as we normally do when we assess it in terms of sustain and improve action on per trade, what we're doing well, but then putting that into a daily reflection and working out, although we might have had 4 or 5 trades during the day in the system, or maximum of 4, then one of those trades is just going to make up the daily result as well. So we might have a loss of 0.3, a loss of 0.3, but then we might make 1.6, and then we might scratch. So obviously they're not the best days, but some days it might just be like the chart I showed then. It's just one trade and it made 1 up. That's it. And you just walk away. So I think in terms of blending it, it's a thought process. You change the psychology of understanding that the next trade is just the next trade in the daily capture. As Ken will say, the next trade is just the next trade instead of 1,000. So in terms of doing that, it will ensure that even if I have some trades that are a loss or a scratch, the cumulative amount of the trades go into the daily capture amount. And what did I write down there? The focus on the task at hand, execute, and then assess later to see how I performed on a trade basis. Yeah, I said that before. So that's what I did this week. I'm really adding on to what I've done in the previous lessons. I remember one of the previous lessons, I think 2 weeks ago, was tweaking, trying to tweak the system. But now I'm trying to blend this system analysis and not just be on a trade basis and working that out, more also working out on a daily basis how I can put that into my assessment as well. I hope.
All right, so a couple things I just want to say on this associated with QFA, quit fiddling around. So there's part of you that doesn't like this system, and the better this system is, the more you don't like it. So I want to know who the 2 people are inside you. Number 1, who is the ideal person outside of yourself that you would hire to run this system? What does the job description look like? Help wanted. So just write down the ideal candidate to do this. And then imagine someone who comes in that has exactly those qualities, but who you also like and that you want to help. And then personify that individual as a colorful cartoon character that you want to help, and then figure out how you can adopt the mindset of that lovable, naive, not terribly creative cartoon character, but you want them to do well because they're down on their luck or whatever. So just figure out the qualities of the person that it takes to run that system without asking all the questions that you have that are keeping you up at night and that you want to solve, and that the longer it takes you to solve them, the more it irritates you that that system just keeps working while you're over here struggling with existential questions and issues. Meanwhile, this thing is just working, and that cognitive dissonance is driving you batshit crazy. So, figure out who the ideal character is to run that system. Write the job description for it, and what we're going to do is you're going to make a damn course for that thing, and we're going to sell that course to people who are going to line up by the hundreds just to trade that system. And the longer you monkey around with it, the longer those people are going without a system that is ideally suited for them, and you owe it to them just to get over yourself and quit fiddling around. Second thing. The second thing I want to know is, what is the part of you that just refuses to accept that that thing is good enough? What is the part of you that is holding, and now I want you to characterize that as some character in a play. Who is that person, and what do they aspire to, and what are they holding out for that doesn't allow them to be satisfied with good enough? You know, I'm reminded of the story of the guy in the flood in Louisiana, and the water's rising, and the sheriff comes by and says, "Hey, we're ready to take you out." He says, "No, I'm going to trust in God, and He's going to take care of me." So he says, "Okay." Well, now the water fills the house, and he has to move up to the second story, and the state troopers come by and said, "Hey, we're ready to take you away." And he said, "I trust in God, and I'm going to be all right. Everything's okay." The water rises to the very top of the house, and he's sitting on top of the roof, and now the federal National Guard comes in with a speedboat, wants to take him away. He says, "No, no, I'm trusting in God. He told me everything's going to be okay." So they say, "Okay, you're the boss." So the water rises, he drowns. He goes to heaven, and he goes to see God and says, I just don't understand it. You told me that you're going to take care of me, and I prayed, and I lived a good life and all that stuff." And he says, "Hey, I came 3 different times. What are you doing? You got to, when they're knocking on the door, you got to, you can afford one wake-up call, but don't hit the snooze button. So quit fiddling around with this thing." So I want you to produce a course in prototype, the minimum viable product of how you would teach us to the person that you're going to hire, because I'm going to offer that course to 10 people just so we can get this thing moving and get you over this. So that's the first part. Second thing is, what is the ideal part of you, that person inside you that doesn't want to take this as good enough for now? And then I want you to think about what this lesson was about, the blender. The blender is all about what happens if you take somebody out of their historical context and put them in charge of forces in a different situation. How does that change the dynamic? This little excursion into parts is going to be like that. Just figure out what the ideal part of you is to trade that, hire somebody to do it, and just do it. The second thing is to figure out who inside you is not willing to do that, and instead of getting to closure on that and good enough and getting it into action, is holding out for more. I mean, you will do better at answering those other questions once you get that thing going, and you just get that project to closure and it's running, and you offload it to somebody, whether it's you or somebody you hire, or you teach it to others. As long as that thing is in motion and going, that's going to relieve the pressure, because you will have, another part of you will have said, "I've resolved the tension between these 2 idiot younger brothers of mine. One of them's not very bright, but is studious and just wants to make some money, and that's all he aspires to in life. This other guy wants to know truth with a capital T. So you got to resolve that tension, get one guy moving, get it done to free up the workspace for the other guy to explore what all the other things that you want to explore. So the third part of yourself is the elder brother who's responsible for the tribe that has got to resolve that tension and get both of those guys doing what they do for the team. And that's where the idea of this lesson, the blender, comes in, is that we're going to just get a system of systems. And now just imagine this thing gets you started and it grinds and it does whatever it's going to do during the day. That amount of stress that will relieve now frees you to be more like a sniper or an artist in some of these other dimensions where you can get more. Like on the trade you showed, which it took its 2 and then left, and there was obviously multiple more entries, and that feels wasteful, and that's sort of the disconnect that you have, or the disappointment you have that it's not even close to being optimized. So just let it do what it does and realize these are just series of approximations. This is like a guy that's doing landscaping, and before you plant the garden, I got to give somebody a thresher to just go out and clear it. You know, that ain't growing crops, but I got to clear it, but it's drudge work, you know. And when I'm sweeping away weeds, I might be killing some little tiny plants, but I don't have time to optimize. So you just got to go through and clear the land and till the soil. And you got to figure out who that guy is and hire him. And the way we're going to do that is by getting a course done so you can get to closure, and then you can set it aside when the work is finalized. So quit trying to over tweak that system. It's good enough right now. I mean, god dang. 5-to-1 win rate and a 1-to-1 payoff. Okay, got it, cleared. Mark McDowell did his last presentation before he passed on was what happens if you get 1 hour a day compounded, and you're getting half an hour a day compounded. So 0.5 compounded at any level of load that you want to put on it is what you've got. And every day that you delay is 1 less day of compounding. So don't be that guy. So that's what I want to say about that. Get on with it.
Yep.
So, Aho, here we go. And that course doesn't have to be pretty, because we'll put 5 or 6 guys in a room and you just talk through it with notes and slides and just the minimum viable product and get the pilot going, and we can turn that into, you know, clean note sheets and questions and answers and all that other stuff. So the first one's a throwaway anyway, but it'll get you to getting that thing proofed. Okay.
Yep, sure.
So let's get that done. Okay. Aho. Damien.
Excuse me. Good to be back in Creativity 202. Is there any way, Ken, that I can share my screen?
Yes, just share the screen.
Do I have to do something? I don't remember.
Somewhere on your on your screen there should be a control button somewhere that lets you share screen. You have the authority to do it.
Whiteboard, chat, participate. Oh, maybe it's up here. There it is. No.
Luke, where
Sometimes
did
if
you see
you
the button?
maximize the screen, all the menu buttons come up down the bottom. So you should have mute, stop video.
I have an app. No, that's not. Raise hand, reaction, record. No.
Then share screen. That should be next to record, in between chat
Oh,
and
share
record.
screen. There we go. So which is the screen that I want to share? This one. Share. Can you guys see what I see?
Yes, sir.
So this is I decided after my loss of last week that I was going to start keeping records. So between last Tuesday and Friday, I did not update it for yesterday, and today I did not trade because I didn't have any internet.
Okay,
because the truck-
you need to maximize your spreadsheet because it's showing a YouTube. So
It's showing a YouTube.
yeah. I mean, it's showing your screen, but not. You started off showing us the spreadsheet. You got to select Excel as the window to show, or put that
Well,
on your
that's what
bigger
I am
screen.
on Excel.
Yeah. Do you have multiple screens?
Yes, I do.
So you got to select the screen that has the Excel window in it. When it says
Oh, I
share
thought that's
screen,
what
it'll give you a choice. But what it's showing is your other screen.
Okay, so we're gonna start again. I thought I showed the right one.
It started off, but then it shifted, and I don't know why.
Well, maybe because so now you see the right one.
Okay,
The
correct.
trade log.
Yep, got it.
Okay, so I started last Wednesday to track my trade, and I want to thank Jeff and the team for pointing me in the right direction. So I took between Wednesday and Friday 14 trades. I'm pretty good with the outcome. The only thing that I have to work on is limiting my losses. Because on trade number 5, I have a loss of 1.68 R, which is a learning in process. So I'm pretty satisfied with the outcome. As you guys can see, I have 12 wins, 2 losses out of 14 trades, which is about 86% success rate. I would call that excellent. So the only thing that I can do from this point on is fine tune my losses so they're less than 1 hour, and then I will be in pretty good shape. Now, the other thing that I did is because I'm trying to, if I want to, how do I do this? Do I have to go back? I'm going to share another slide. So the other thing that I decided to do is I'm going to get organized. So I took a spreadsheet and I wrote down the days of the week and what I was going to do during the day, all the way from morning meditation to the evening, step by step, so that I have a better feel of what my day should look like. So that's going to be a work in progress, but I'm pretty excited with the way it's looking right now. And to be honest, that's basically all I have to share for this week. I hope.
Yeah, so just let me say that this is exactly the method that I use to train high performance staff in multiple units, all the way up to a division level, an army organization with 20,000 soldiers, or from an individual company of 100 soldiers, is figuring out what actually matters, how we were going to check it, establishing a system of accountability, and then being rigorous with accountability on doing the assessment. So I made sure that the assessment that we did was everybody on the staff together, and it became a ritual part of our every shift change brief, every command and staff meeting, that we would review the things that were important. And and our standards were red dot and green dot. And if we met the standard for whatever that thing was, there's a thing on the market review. If there's something that you have decided that you've got to do to be a go or to get a green check mark on market review, then that's the standard. And you either did it or you didn't do it. It's a red dot or a green dot. And what we did was limit the work in progress until we were consistently green dots on the things that we said were the most important. Then and only then would we look at adding the next most important things, the ones that were giving us the most difficulty, and always going after the next biggest challenge, always focusing on the most important things, and making sure that everybody had ingrained that style and standard of accountability. So this is what a serious person does. It's not rocket science, but what it is daily discipline, which is harder than science because you have to do it every day. Some days the science doesn't follow through or you didn't learn anything new, but you actually have to do this every day. And so I would just say that you're on the right path with that. So keep up the, yeah, go ahead.
One of the things that I was going to add is I'm going to follow up every time we have a creativity on those 2 sheets so that you guys can see the progress, and then all the feedback is greatly appreciated.
Sounds good. You're on it. Aho. Stop sharing your screen. There you go. Art.
Thanks again. I'll go. Mine will be kind of short. Like I said in my initial check-in, I've been away for a few weeks. Had some health issues around what I discovered was some sort of something to do with my psoas muscle, which I never knew existed until it acted up, which made it extremely painful for me to sit any longer than like 15 minutes at a go. But anyway, that seems to be all better now. I like to say lately I've been kind of on pause on Creativity 202, and for whatever reason, drawn more to kind of dive in a little bit deeper into my self-work, and which I've been doing. And lately, over the last few weeks, I seem to have taken a turn back into like more inner child work and having to reflect back on my relationships with my parents and how those affected me, and created some of the core beliefs I carry with me to this day. So I'm working through that. It's taken longer than I wish it would. I guess I am where I am. And I just wanted to say, just listening to the check-in so far today, that I was like really struck by 2 things that really resonated with me. And one of them was what you said, Ken, when every day, something to the effect of every day that you delay is one less day of kind of getting on with it and making progress. And I think in some aspects, I delay myself. So I'm putting that out there. And the second thing is just listening to Damien's spreadsheet. I've been thinking about actually reaching out to and having a chat with, because I love that spreadsheet. I think I shared this past weekend on just our Saturday accountability group, how I'd started to allocate time, the small chunks of time for the half a dozen things that I like to spend some time on during each day. And I found like I can get 1 or 2 of them consistently, but I can't get all of them. And I like the idea of the spreadsheet and you reinforced that, Ken, with your share on that. And I like the idea of like limiting to that to what's most important and actually putting it on a spreadsheet that I can track. I know we have like dashboards on some of our projects, actually like on all of our projects now, and basically kind of list the activities and yeah, it's like a green dot or a red dot type thing. But anyway, I just wanted to say that really resonated. That message resonated with me, and I'm taking that one home. So that's all I have to say. And thank you all for being here. And Ken, welcome back.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's good to be back. Hey, I would just say a really good book on this area is The Idea of Nudge, and that is the idea of moving the mountain one little wedge at a time. The absolute key to that is the idea of every time you make an improvement is knocking in a wedge to lock in the forward progress, not paying for the same real estate twice. It's like the mountain climber putting in the protection to limit the loss, but just to it's you know Sisyphus didn't know that what he was supposed to do was fill his pockets full of wooden wedges so that as he was pushing the boulder up the mountainside, before he just used up all his strength just to watch the thing roll back down the hill, is he was supposed to wedge that thing in and get it locked in. And you have to have a way to respect the effort of the guy who broke the inertia, right? And got that thing moving. Watch that steam train when it's trying to first get moving. You get good chunk, and it's spins its wheels a little bit until it finally gets traction and begins that forward momentum. You don't want to lose that momentum. And so the system that you use to document those little wins has got to be so simple that it's easier to do it than not do it. Like, you can make very elaborate systems with your optimistic mind about how you're going to keep track of everything. But it is the minimum viable product that it's easy to sustain on 3 or 4 bad days in a row, that you can just make those notations. That's how you make the progress, is those tiny little nudges. That's why I like green dot, red dot. I like the one-page project management. I like tally sheets. I like keeping a running score. I mean, the thing that saved more Army lives in terms of accident prevention was when they put the number of accident day free days in a row.
That's what I came from.
And so everybody coming through the main gate would say, "Hey, it's been 17 days since we had a fatal accident or a serious accident," or whatever the standards were. Hey, and it was just a little nudge to remind you, just be a little more cautious. And you could make it more elaborate than that. Some guy then will say, "Okay, I know what we're going to do is we're going to put a little green dot of like sticky tape or something, like a little decal, a little green dot on everybody's watch." And that became an inspectable item, and that was supposed to remind you that, oh yeah, you're a safety officer. And then, just like anything else, it became too burdensome, and then it became a compliance inspection to see if you had your green dot. And then guys started keeping statistics on the number of spot checks where we successfully had green dot, and by unit category, how many. And then it became, Jesus, I don't. All they could see when they saw the green dot was what a bunch of assholes who are out of touch we have as leaders. So a good idea can go too far, So as you're looking at spreadsheets and keeping tracks of things, just remember it's got to become an unconscious part of your system of accountability to make it easy. like mine is, I just I make it a, I bind myself like on true story circles and these things that I just everybody in my family knows that Tuesdays and Thursday nights at 7 o'clock I gotta be in this chair. So we arranged to have dinner with my daughter and her brand new boyfriend from Belgium down at a restaurant. But it was like, hey, at 6 o'clock they said, hey, Dad, you need to get rolling. You need to get back there to get into the, because it's a half an hour drive back. And so that was just sort of, you got to have redundancy and making it easy to perform those little checklists. Like Jeff will tell you that checklists that fit in hip pockets that can be on one sheet that can sit on your thigh when you're sitting down. Those are the ones you consult. Those are the ones you look at. In our attack helicopters, guys would take grease pencils and put a little X on the windshield bubble, and when that was lined up from where they saw it to the target, that was their sight mechanism. Now they had elaborate sights, but the one that worked was the little crosshairs that the guy sketched in with a grease pencil, because that was the thing that was robust and could endure. So as you're looking at adding things to your management program, just make sure that the cost of maintenance of the accountability system is not priced too high. That it's worth the squeeze, and figure out how to make it part of your routine. So that's what I wanted to say about that.
Thank
And
you.
good to have you back. And like I said today, man, we're never late on this thing. All where we are is where we're at, and miles to go before we sleep. And it's really about maintaining the momentum all the time. And that's what I want to say about that QFA, quit fiddling around, is that you got to have sort of a not subterranean, but a subsonic little rumble in your gut all the time, that is that diesel engine that's just going, that wants to work. And you got to put that thing to work. And once you get that thing cranking, you got to find ways to keep making progress with that thing. And it should drive you nuts when there was a chance to do some small thing and we didn't do it. So how we got to find ways to do that. Okay, so that's what I want to say.
Thank you.
Jeffrey.
Hey guys. Yeah, it's driving my guys crazy. They're trying to figure out what I'm doing sitting out here in the truck, so they can just wonder for a little bit longer. There was a rumor that class was going to be suspended. So, there's a temptation to not do the work. And to hedge against that, I went ahead and wrote all mine up and sent it to everyone. So I'll have a real short check-in. But I felt myself tempted to slack off, and I thought, class or no class, I need to keep going. So I wrote up everything and sent it to everybody. But the idea of blending, there were some great ideas in the previous cohort videos, and don't want to rehash any of that because it's there for everyone to watch. But I think, like Luke, I wanted to focus more on how I can apply these learnings to my trading. So I thought about the battle of trading, and really framing both sides of the trade gives you that additional perspective, or maybe even more than two perspectives of where this thing could go and what it could do. And I want to buy it, but at this point I need to be short, so at least I have to be out by that point, if I'm not short. So I think framing it both ways gives me the ability to think about the future battle that hasn't happened yet. Price will do something that causes me to act, and then I can make better decisions faster. So that's kind of what I took out of the lesson. And I asked myself, I looked at Ken's 30-minute swing portfolio from a different perspective. And I thought, and here's my motivation, because, I know I should be trading that 30-minute chart, and I keep threatening to and saying I'm going to transition to the swing trade time frame, and I just fiddle around with it. I've done a few trades here and there, but I haven't gotten serious about it. So I thought, what if I was on the other side of all of these trades of Ken's on the 30-minute time frame? And I decided, no, I would never do that. Well, if you wouldn't take the other side, maybe you should choose, this side. So yeah, I think framing the trade and making sure that I'm on the right side of it at entry, and then getting out when I'm supposed to get out, is what I took from the perspectives of changing the commanders. And, I was looking at symbols and the short side versus the long side, and then also realizing there's times when I don't want to be on either side. It's too murky, and I don't see a clear trade, so I just stay out. And then as far as the blender, I've been trying to blend two styles. So my aggressive morning trading style of trading the open, I've been trying to hold a half of that position and transition to the 5-minute chart and to Luke's relaxed PSAR in an effort to try to get a larger move if there's one later in the day. And I almost think that's almost a hedge to keep me from having to actually sit down and do the work of trading the 30-minute chart, and just committing to holding these trades overnight, and just knowing that the gaps will occur. So something for me to think about. On the trader's exercise, I did this and I sent this to everyone. So last week I had a pretty nice week. I had 8.9 R, and I looked at the stats, 70% win rate, 1.4 to 1 payout, there's only 21 trades, but it had a NSQN of about 4 and an average expectancy of 0.43. All the trades were under 2R except for one, and there was a 4.1R win in there. So I took that out and replaced it with a 0.43R win, and that reduced my overall R capture to 5.3. Win rate stayed the same. The payout reduced from 1.4 to 1 to 1 to 1. And the coin flip went from 3.6 down to 2.5, but the NSQN only went from 4 down to 3.8, and the expectancy went from 0.43 down to 0.25. So I was pretty happy with that. That was an exceptionally good week for me. I went back and ran it on the monthly, and I was still positive expectancy, but on the monthly, if I took out, there was quite a few large winners. If I took them all out and just put them back in at the expectancy, which was 0.35, then it reduced my expectancy to 0.08. But I still had 5.2R positive for the month. So that was an interesting exercise to see that you're doing the work between -2 or -1 and +2R. But also, in my system, the way I trade, I think I do need those winning trades, the large winners, if I can find them, to boost my numbers. And my work in progress is the same. Just keep trading and rewrite my trading plan to fit what I intend to do. And that's probably focusing on the higher time frames, 30-minute or an hourly chart, just to fit my lifestyle a little better. So I hope.
Yeah, I just want to remind you that, you cut your teeth on the 3-minute to learn the patterns and just drill, like doing rudiments on a drum. And then the 30-minute gives you that slow, relaxed view of fast swing trading, which takes advantage of some of the gains you can get, which begin with a 3-minute move that never looks back. But remember that that's sort of the gateway to then looking at dailies and 3 days and 9 days. When you look at the sniper trade of the day today is a look at a 9-day chart on Microsoft and just using standard entries, which on an industrial strength level was a 7R win with a $20 initial stop, which a professional fund manager can actually do without worried about is compliance. Is that you're getting that was like an 8% or a 10% initial stop in Microsoft. It was not clear at the time, like why you should pick that moment to get into Microsoft, unless you had stepped out far enough to the 9 day and saw what that thing was signaling, and it was a clear sign of a low risk entry, and then that allowed a couple positions. So I would just say that the idea of blending is not just different personalities, but it's also the different time frames and how they relate. Um, um, oh, there was one other good one I was going to mention. Yeah, it's the idea of when you're doing the work that you know you should do anyway. It's very much like uh, raking the gravel in the yard and smoothing it all out. And every so often it overturns something that, oh, it's shining in the sun and it glitters, and oh, there's a little piece of, you know somebody dropped a coin in there and I found it. Or it's like shucking oysters, which is one of my favorite trading analogies. Is that you buy a bucket of oysters from a reputable oyster salesman, and you buy 50 oysters, and you have reason to believe there's a pearl or two inside there. And if there is a pearl, it has some kind of histogram of the value of the pearl. So there's either a pearl or not, and then the pearl has a particular market value or not. But you're buying a bucket of oysters, and every single oyster looks exactly the same way. So there is some efficient way to open that oyster. And if you've opened oysters or shuck crawdads, you know, you can cut your fingers up trying to open the sharp edge of that shell, which looks very much like a natural knife, which is why shells were used as arrowheads, and knives, because they're that sharp. But you got to get at the sweet meat. So there's an efficient way to do the drudgery that allows you to do it in an efficient, sustainable, almost disinterested, but thorough and systematic way. And then every so often something abnormal happens and you get a pearl, and now you go through the second rule set of, well, how much value is that pearl? Two different mindsets, two different procedures, but all part of the same meta system. And at some point you say, I just want to open the oysters that have pearls in them. Well, of course you do. But what you got to do is monitor the statistics on each bucket of 50 oysters, and then looking at sets of 10 buckets, so that you can determine if the guy that's selling you oysters is still on the money. Is he still in a pearl rich oyster bed? Or are the oysters or is he doing something different? Well, I don't know how he would do it without opening the oysters, but is there something in the environmental conditions that little piece of nature is no longer producing pearls at the normal rate, plus or minus a standard deviation? So that's why if you think about Luke's performance curves on multiple time frames, it gave him a fast one for early warning, a much longer one for long-term continuity, and then a middle management one to determine if he was still kind of within the zone of management, and the slope of that one was mattered. So so doing the work, making it easy, low cost of management, but disciplined, systematic management is sort of the secret to that managerial success. And in the same way that you got to hire a guy to do the drudge work on the system you don't like, and you got to create space for the little artist in you to express himself, and you got to hire the chief of staff to blend him, you also got to hire the guy that will do that accountability stuff for you. And so now Damien, although he's not here, I'm going to say, look, you just committed in public, Damien, to showing those management slides twice a week. So we're just going to hold you accountable to that, and just no big deal. But you said you were going to do that, and now the social pressure of doing that in public may be just the wedge that he needs to lock in the gains of adopting a managerial mindset. That's what the beginning of discipline is, that you go to the dojo and you wear the uniform correctly, which means tying the knot correctly, and those are inspected all the time. And each person checks their battle buddy to make sure their knot is tied correctly, and the blue belts are checking to make sure that the white belts are checking each other's knots, because they know enough to do that. And so that's how we proceed onward and upward. And that's why, Luke, we got to get that rule set into the minimum viable product for teaching the rules. And I think what Jeff and Bill did with the minimum viable rule set for the PRX system is sort of what your initial target ought to be. Something to be taught in 4 hours and done. And then we'll just get other guys certified on it to teach it if you don't want to teach it. But I get Griff will teach that thing forever because he doesn't know it yet, but he needs to be trading that one too. And look, the stats on your system were the same stats as the one that were on Damien's. It was a high volume of opportunities. It was a 5-to-1 win rate, 86%, and it was approximately 1-to-1 payoff. That is changing his life. And everybody that has never managed to find a system that works for them, a positive expectancy system, is desperately in search of a one-page set of rules that trades 5 times a day with absolutely clear rule sets that they can offload their inquisitive mind to, just to follow those rules. And we got to get that done. So we owe that. Okay. All right. That's everything I want to say about this. I'm going to hit the tones and listen for your word of the week. And then I'm going to go finish up the reports, and off we go. So. Luke,
UFA.
that's the one. Art,
Trust in myself.
Jeff,
Checklist.
wedge. The inclined plane, the simplest tool known to man, is the wedge. All right, guys, we'll take good care. We shall see you soon. I'll let you know tomorrow after the consultation what KU says. I'm going to go as early as they're ready for me to reduce the stress in my family awaiting. You know, there's an optimal time, and then there's a time that I'm going to go, and the time I'm going to go is as soon as they're ready and they think it's good. So no wasted motion on that. So take good care and see you soon.
You too, Ken.
Thanks,
Bye,
Ken.
everyone.